It's October 6th, 2001. We're at Old Trafford in Manchester, England. Greece leads the Three Lions 2-1 in the 93rd minute and has the opportunity to keep England from qualifying for the 2002 World Cup. With David Beckham lining up for a free kick, the English national team is looking for a miracle in the closing seconds. But how'd we get here? How'd England put themselves in position for possibly yet another heartbreak on a national level? How has a Greek team with nothing to play for nearly pulled this off? Before we get to a moment that will define English football, either through success or failure, we need to rewind. Although they're not completely dead, with stoppage time running out, England has put themselves in a situation few expected coming into today. They entered the match tied with Germany atop their group, with each nation down to their last match. Whoever finished the stage in first place would automatically advance, while the squad in second would need to win a playoff to qualify. Thanks to a 5-1 victory over the Germans a month earlier, England more or less controlled their own destiny thanks to goal differential. At worst, they had to match Germany's result against a tough Finland squad, but with the games being played simultaneously, wouldn't know their fate until close to the final whistle. Having won 5 straight games, including a 2-0 victory over Greece, there was reason for optimism about the British chances. That is, if you didn't take into account the national team's history. Since winning it all as the host nation in 1966, their World Cup record has been marred by soul-crushing defeats. In the tournament following their victory, they led West Germany 2-0 in the 70th minute of the quarterfinals. But 2 German goals in the final 20 minutes led to extra time, which led to this 108th minute dagger to knock out the defending champions. In 1986, defeat was even crueler thanks to Maradona's Hand of God goal, which was controversial enough to overshadow the incredible individual effort he displayed on his way to what would become Argentina's game winner. In the following World Cup, they again were sent home by West Germany, this time in the semifinals via penalty shootout. British keeper Peter Shilton dove the correct direction on each attempt, but failed to stop a single shot. And after failing to qualify in 1994, England once again met Argentina in the 98 tournament. In the round of 16 with the match tied 2 apiece, Beckham was given a red card in the 47th minute for this heel tap to the Argentine who had just fouled him. This match, too, was decided by a shootout, and England was again sent packing. When they returned home, effigies of Beckham were being burned, and a long wait was in store for a chance at redemption. And now that the chance is here, England has nearly squandered it. To make matters worse, they're doing so against a team that's not only long eliminated from making the tournament, but also in disarray as an organization. The Greek national team has never been a football superpower. Their lone World Cup appearance came in 1994, where they lost all 3 games they appeared in by a combined 10 goals to none. It hasn't been much better in group play to qualify for 2002. They've won 2 of 7 matches, and 1 of which came against Albania, the only Group 9 squad lower than Greece in the table. It should be noted, they also gave Albania their only win in the stage as well. And while they were looking toward the future when they hired Otto Rehhagel to manage the team, it only led to more changes and uncertainty. His first game with Greece was a 5-1 defeat against Finland, during which King Otto clashed with striker Grigoris Georgatos, who retired from the national team following the match, citing unplayable conditions. But while both sides were feeling out the new relationship, there was some reason for hope. The new manager convinced some of Greece's best players to return to the national team, and following the debacle against Finland, had a game day roster with 7 new faces to it. That said, no one was planning for overnight results, and expectations were modest. But whether it was a German coach trying to help his home nation, or England falling into old habits, Greece has taken control of this match. And if you had only watched this game, you likely wouldn't have guessed England was heavily favored. Obviously at 2-1 it's been competitive, but Greece has stunned the Brits. England had their chances early on, including this free kick from Beckham in the 7th minute that the Greek keeper turned away. But while Greece's defense swarmed each time they were threatened, the English failed to show the same urgency. Greece was able to do as they pleased in the middle of the pitch. which after Gerrard was nutmegged, was on display as Greece patiently picked their spots.
I have to say, Martin, I hate to say it, but the Greeks have actually worked the ball through midfield much better than England so far.
Not long after that, in the 36th minute, Greece worked their way to England's end line. A deflection sent the ball to a Greek forward, whose first touch put it in the back of the net. England had no answers before halftime, and while they had some solid attempts after the break, the Greeks were quick to show they weren't sitting on their one-goal advantage. They kept Nigel Martyn on his toes in the 49th minute.
That might just be the save that sent England through, you know.
Well, in order for that to be true, England had to score, and with those hopes in mind, called on Teddy Sheringham. The 35-year-old striker was subbed on for Robbie Fowler in the 68th minute, and within 10 seconds of hitting the pitch, Sheringham headed in a Beckham free kick for the equalizer. With that, plus the fact that Germany was still tied 0-0 with Finland, England was back atop the group. That lasted less than a minute. Greece was able to send the ball into the crowded box where Nicolaitis was played onside by Gary Neville, and Greece was back up by 1 goal.
It's bedlam at Old Trafford.
England's urgency picked up from there, but the closest thing to relief came when 4 minutes of stoppage time were added.
4 minutes. That's a welcome sight, I have to say.
What also helped was the German result was in the books, but that only confirmed England needed a goal. And to do that, they turned to, well, you know, we can finally talk about the beautiful elephant in the room. David Beckham is no stranger to situations like this, or to these surroundings. He's called Old Trafford home for much of his football career. He joined Manchester United's youth program in 1991, where he was part of a young and successful core that included his national team teammates Gary Neville and Paul Scholes. He made his Premier League debut for United in April 1995, and a year later became a household name thanks to this absurd goal from 60 yards out that came on their opening day game against Wimbledon. After the incident and effigies of the 1998 World Cup, he had an unforgettable 98-99 season for much better reasons. Facing Tottenham in their final game of the Premier League season, Beckham found the far post for the equalizer, and after Andy Cole scored in the 47th, United took home their 5th championship in 7 seasons. Later that month, down 1-0 in stoppage time of the Champions League final, Beckham sent in a pair of corners that both resulted in goals, including this one from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the game winner against Bayern Munich. Those 2 victories, plus an FA Cup win over Newcastle, gave Manchester the first ever Premier League treble. And after United again won the Premier League following the 99-2000 season, Beckham was named Team England's captain, an achievement that was not lost on the man whose celebrity status had grown immensely over the previous seasons, partly for what was done on the pitch, and partly due to him becoming the husband of Posh Spice. And while United's manager Sir Alex Ferguson at times took issue with the latter, it was hard to find problems with Beckham as the leader of the national squad. At times today, he's looked like the only hope that England's got, and had been playing similarly throughout qualifying. They had Beckham to thank for their first victory in group play after he scored the game winner against Finland. They haven't lost since, which includes a win over a somewhat different Greek team in which Beckham put in a free kick from 25 yards out, freezing the keeper as it looked like he was going near post before it bent back into the middle. And throughout this rematch with Greece, he's attempted to recapture that magic. He had a chance at the start of the second half, from a location not too different from where he scored in the last game against Greece. And while the opportunity didn't affect the scoreboard, Andy Gray brought up the potential mind games in play, which could let this attempt impact future shots.
I think that was when you get mind games in football, man, that's it. The goalkeeper would be very aware of where he was beaten. So would David, so he tried the reverse.
He very nearly had an equalizer in the 77th when he tried this time for the near post, but found only the side of the net. Again in the 88th, a Beckham run ended with a foul, setting up the skipper for a free kick as Martin Tyler sang his praise.
Well, at times it has been almost a one-man band, the World Cup rescue mission.
The ensuing set piece was cast aside for a corner, but as the final whistle drew near, the deficit stood for England. Beckham has one last chance for glory. It's a situation where he's found plenty of success in the past, but today it's eluded him. The same can be said for Team England. whose failings in World Cup play make this feel as though their fate has already been sealed. Their opponents have played the role of spoiler beautifully, and for the moment, Greece's football future has a bit more hope than it did 24 hours ago. With this result, their new coach would also be gifting his home country a World Cup berth, adding insult to injury for the Brits. But it comes down to the English captain, who in 3 years has gone from public enemy number one to the hero of Manchester, and now can become a national savior. Welcome to a moment in history.
Arguably the most recognisable footballer in the world. Yes! Yes for England! David Beckham has done it big time!
Hey, thanks for watching. Since you're still hanging around, I bet you'll like this reminder about one of the greatest Premier League finishes of all time. Or here's another video. It's like a red pill, blue pill situation, but the result either way is just a good video you'll enjoy. Oh, I forgot to say subscribe. So, subscribe.